Hey guys, welcome back to Loudmouth Fisticuffs. This is episode number 6. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it so much. I am Joshua Furs with my man Jeff Houston. Jeff, what's going on, my friend?
Week number 2 of the quarantine. That's what's going on, man. I've been masturbating so damn much. I think that I have got a grip that could actually break a fucking rock or brick in, man. I know that that's too much information, but you know something? I had to throw out some kind of quarantine humor there that some people would understand because, like I said, we're heading into week number 2, unprecedented territory. The majority of the government's probably going to issue a stay-at-home order. It's already done so in multiple states. I'm taking a page out of their request book, and I'm going to do that myself because it makes sense that the more that we stay home and the more we don't congregate and social distancing, I hate that word. I hate that word. I fucking hate those two words, social distancing. It's no. Stay the fuck home. Stay the fuck home if you have to. It's that simple, folks. And you know what? It makes sense. It makes sense because if you're home, guess what? Guess what isn't out there traveling around, jumping from person to person, unbeknownst to us all? Yeah, the COVID. Yeah, motherfucking COVID. I'm sick of talking about it, man. But yeah, I just think that that's the best thing for us. Texas is probably going to be pretty close to a stay-at-home order shortly. And even Bill Gates was talking about it. He says, you know what? 6 to 10 weeks of solid at home. And this would probably thin out a hell of a lot sooner than most people would think. And I agree. I totally agree.
First off, I'd like to say to your first part of your opening there is, have you ever heard the term friction burn? That's all I'm going to say.
Well, have you ever heard the word lube?
Oh, goodness, Jeff.
I'm working on some really good calluses. You can actually see them right there. Yeah. Good, going pretty good. They're not rock climber calluses, but
I was going to say people are going to start to think you do manual labor or something.
Oh, I'm doing manual labor, and it's heavy lifting.
Guys, as Jeff said, we're kind of going a little kooky here. We're in the second week of quarantine crap. Not going to go into detail and all that. You guys know the deal. We're not here to talk about that. This episode, we're going to change it up just a little bit because, of course, as you all are well aware, everything's postponed. There's nothing going on in the world of combat sports. There's been a couple shows here and there, local shows and stuff like that, which was awesome that they kind of went forward with that. But for the most part, there's no UFC. There's no bare knuckle.
No boxing.
No boxing. There's barely wrestling. And we thought that we would do something a little different today. And we kind of want to do a watch along. And of course, me and Jeff were lifelong pro wrestling fans. And like
lifelong,
I said,
baby.
Lifelong. So we're changing up. We're going to watch some pro wrestling today. So if you're down with that, please continue to watch. If not, hey, we always
hey, don't you dare. Hey. We're talking about wrestling, and you're saying if you're down with that. And if you're not down with that, for the wrestling fans that are out there, we got 2 words for you.
That's right. So we're going to be watching classic, absolute one of my favorites, Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin from WrestleMania 13.
Submission match.
Watching that. So what we're going to do, we're going to sync it up here. So we're going to watch the fight at the same time as you. We're going to be kind of giving our thoughts and, just whatever the hell pops into our brains. So what I need you to do is go to your WWE Network, log in, wherever you're logging in from, get it loaded up. And what we're going to do, we're going to hit play at the same time. Mm-hmm. All right.
So that way that you guys can follow along, move for move, hold for hold, moment for moment. This is definitely a favorite of mine. It's definitely a favorite of the legends that are in it. I was recently watching the Stone Cold Broken Skull session with Bret Hart, and the reminiscing that they had when they were watching this match back was just beautiful because they were just so happy and pleased with it across the board. In fact, Steve Austin still says that at the end of this match when he's lying face down was one of the happiest moments of his life afterwards, because he had known what they had given. And for those of you who haven't reached this far back into the annals of WWE history, this is considered one of the greatest matches of all time. It's definitely in the top 5. It's too good to be lower than the top 5. It's definitely top 5 match criteria. 100%. Is it the number 1? Some people may say, some people may have different opinions, but usually the ones that are heralded within the top 5 are they're so tough to beat, because it was just two athletes giving us everything that they got in the right circumstances, in the right place at the right time. It was just, you're only as good as your dance partner.
And I will actually give my answer to where I think it's at the end of the match. We're going to go over, and I'm going to give my answer.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough.
So what we're going to do, like I said, get your WWE Network loaded up right now, get it synced up, and we're going to start it right at the beginning of the match, right when they're doing the promo package. So the promo package is get ready to start, and we're going to hit play, and we're just going to go.
Get ready.
All right. So 3, 2, 1.
Go. All right. Video package time. The Hitman, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. There was a lot that was happening in the buildup of this match. Definitely, in my opinion, the best rivalry of 1997.
Yeah, I mean, what else could you really say? I can't think of anything that would come close to that. I guess. Maybe you could argue Taker and Shawn, because they had their rivalry in '97, like towards the end of it. But that's tough.
You see right here where he was just yelling at Vince. Stone Cold has even said that he believes that Bret Hart was responsible for helping develop the Mr. McMahon character, because
absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Because he was one of the first ones to really start shoving Vince around, and just shooting on him. He would just kind of shoot on him, and nobody really had the balls or the sack to do that up to that point. And then the character kind of developed organically and out of necessity to stand up against that. And this is where Steve Austin really started coming into his own. I mean, he really started developing his character. See, up there it was. There's the shove down, and I think that's where the Mr. McMahon character was born. That moment right there, actually. Because that's when Bret started started gravitating towards a heel turn, and as you know, he ended up going, full on Canadian after a while, and he didn't want to turn heel at first. He didn't want to, but he also understood where Steve Austin was coming. He saw that this guy just was a rocket ship of potential, as we know that he was, and they just had to give him that opportunity. They had to give him that opportunity to be kind of the anti-hero, because Stone Cold was never, I don't think he was ever a fully face.
No, of course not. If memory serves me correct, that steel cage part where you pushing him down, my memory, if it serves me correct, was Bret versus Sid in the cage, right? And then It was for the belt, because Sid had the belt.
Look how young he looked. Look how young Ken Shamrock looked. Man, looks like that he pawned that referee shirt off a 7-year-old. Looks like it's painted on. That was really good that they brought him in as they were beginning to transition him to WWE life. I mean, he was a really good addition. He looked the part. He looked like a professional wrestler. Everybody was, the UFC, was only a few years in, but everybody knew who Ken Shamrock was at that time.
Yeah. World's most dangerous man.
And here we go. A very unusual part, watching Steve Austin walk to, and here it comes. When you hear the shattered glass, that's your ass. But
when they did that, I think they only did that twice.
No, they did. It wasn't something that
because the second time, if I remember, the second time they did it, it didn't break as well.
No, so this one had a good shatter down.
This one was good, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're absolutely right. But what was interesting is that we didn't often see Stone Cold do the tunnel walk to the gorilla position.
Right.
So that was kind of rare right there that we saw that he
You
was
know
doing.
what? That's one thing I like when it gives that big fight feel when they do it in UFC.
Like boxing.
Or boxing, right? Like I wish that was something they went back to doing because it just, I don't know, it just gives it that extra just anticipation. You know, them coming out, and you see them coming out, and you see the just
already in his face, man. I love it. Man, I'm going to tell you, this character was absolutely on the precipice of complete explosion. And everybody knew that this, I'm going to be honest with you. I remember WrestleMania 13. I remember 1997. I remember the anticipation for this meetup. And I just knew something was going to be special on this. I didn't know it was going to go to the extent that it did, but I was pleasantly surprised. And I had a feeling that Steve was going to shoot in on him immediately on the match. And honestly, those are my favorite ways to start matches, especially when you have a rivalry established, you have a general hatred between the characters. It's the only way that you can really start it.
Right.
That's
you kind of have to. Yeah. You have to.
All right. And this was also a few years into Bret Hart's remixed entrance, which was probably one of my favorite. Which was one of my favorite entrance themes of all time. The way that they redid it, and they had the screeching guitar, the longing guitar in his, and it's definitely one of my favorite entrance themes. The remixed Bret Hart at that time. And look at this, walks right into it, and I love it. Takes one look, and then right into it, man. And that's the way that you start a match. You can see the anticipation of the people in the crowds, you know, great give and take back and forth at the beginning. You know, I mean, that's what these guys had to do. I mean, that's what was expected of them. And I love how it rolls right outside. I love that the transition, they didn't do any mat work. You know, that this was going
well, and you know what? That's
wherever it was going.
That's the way it should have been because the whole point of this match, you know, this I Quit match, they knew that it was going to be like this no holds barred, no disqualification style match.
Yep.
And to start it off on the outside, it also gives you a great indicator because, you know, somebody like Bret Hart and Steve Austin as well. One thing you don't do in pro wrestling when you do a match like this, you don't want to go backwards in terms of like intensity, right? You don't want to go backwards. So, like, if you started off on the outside, someone better be bleeding by the end of it. There better be some, you know,
somebody got to get hurt.
Yeah, so someone's going to get hurt. You can almost bet someone's going to get hurt if it starts off on the outside.
Oh, look at that, right? I forgot there, ringside. There's Captain Lou Albano. There's Tony Atlas.
Yeah,
I forgot that at WrestleMania, there's always a few dignitaries in the crowd, you know, watching. That was you know, you got to figure, man. You got to that's tough to do when you drape somebody over the barrier back then, and then you do a clothesline over that. You really got to take care of one another on that because
it's so low.
Well, not only that, it's so easy to smack your head on the concrete. Going over, and there's a whole lot of unpredictability. In fact, Steve was telling in his podcast on the Broken Skull that he went over to the concession guy over there, tried to get so much more, but the guy wouldn't give it to him, so he only grabbed what he could. And he said he was apparently pissed off at that concession dude earlier. Yeah, you could. Yeah, see, he's trying to grab something. I mean, shit, man, I would have grabbed the tray.
You know, it's funny. I've never noticed that little part right there. I've never noticed that.
Yeah, he was talking about that. And, I mean, anytime you're out in the crowd, you've got to – people have no sense of personal space. They're like rabid dogs. They're like rabid animals, man. They're just – this one guy in the brown jacket, look, he look at what he does with Bret.
Well –
Look at that.
Too, you got to think, too, this is 97. This was back when – stars across the board just shined so much brighter. So it's almost like people just wanted to touch you, wanted to just be as close as they could to you. And somebody
hold on 1 second before you go.
Yeah.
The bump, this bump. Oh my god. Oh my
on
god.
the steps. Yes.
Oh my god. Yeah, look how high up he goes.
Yeah.
Oh.
On the
Oh.
concrete steps.
On the point, imagine your back and your shoulders exploding on the point of a concrete step.
Absolutely, I can imagine that. Absolutely.
Oh, that can't be. I mean, yeah, and he even said that was a motherfucker of a bump.
That's probably the worst bump of the match, and all. It's probably it, or one of them. It's
one of them. It's one of them. When he went head first into the guardrail, he didn't actually gig. He didn't have to. No, the guardrail cut him open. He went hard way. He went hard way on that. And the funny thing about this is a lot of people. They thought that he was like in real trouble the way that he sold it. And they thought that this was one of the more worse bleeding incidents that he'd ever had. And afterwards, he's like, not at all. Not at all. He said, I had no scar tissue. He said, no. He said, it just looked so much worse.
It just looked dramatic.
It looked so much worse than it actually was. And, those suck. Those suck, man. I'm sure that you can attest to being tossed into those aluminum steps. They call them steel steps, but we all know that they're stamped aluminum.
Yeah, usually they're like 10, 15. They're not. It's really not that bad of a bump. It's not.
I mean, yeah, and it makes a great thud.
A great sound. Yeah, the sound is great.
And oh man, look at this. The middle fingers before they were middle fingers, man. I love it. I love it, man. And that's another move that I love that both of these guys were actually kind of synonymous with at one point in their career was the double axe handle. But look at how awkward this looks when he kicked. Look.
Oh, yeah.
It looks so awkward the way he fell back when he got kicked with those stairs. It almost looked like I think he lost control of it. But both of these guys were really good at old school double axe handles. They were really, I mean, obviously it was part of Bret's repertoire when he had his 5 moves set up for the sharpshooter, which I'm telling you, he fucking hated that, man. He fucking hated having the 5 moves of doom. But 300 days a year.
Well, if you look at Bret does more of a. It's hard to illustrate this because you can't see me over video to the people watching. But listening, but like instead of like if you grasp your hands together, that's double axe handle, right? Yeah. He does more like a forearm.
Well, it's more of a forearm
smash.
But he does do the double axe handle.
He does do it, yeah.
As far as its setup, it's really more of a flying forearm smash.
Yeah,
it's really more of it. You're right. But sometimes he will do. See, that was more of an elbow.
Yeah, it's more of an elbow kind of thing.
That was more of an elbow. That was more of it. Yeah.
You know what? And I've always liked that. You don't see anybody really do that now. That
short elbows? No.
Just a short elbow. Like it's easy. It's not a huge bump, but it looks good. It's not a big bump.
I love that what he just did. The carryover leg snap. The carryover leg snap. Oh man.
Do you know what's funny? Doing those, the bump to do those is worse than it's actually a stiff bump to do it.
Really?
Yeah. Because when you step on the guy's like the crease of his thigh right there,
so you get the momentum, right?
You grab it and then you're pretty much just taking a kind of a twist back bump yourself, and you're just throwing yourself back. It's kind of stiff.
Well, I would hope so. But Bret was also very good about never hurting anybody.
I mean, it's stiff on Bret, not the guy.
Well, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I mean, it's stiff on everybody. I'm saying on a side note that Bret was very good at not hurting anybody.
Yeah.
He was stiff like that right there. That's that carryover. And yes, he takes a full on bump going back.
It's stiff. It's a stiff bump. You don't think it's just something most people don't think about, but it is.
Because more of the emphasis is on the leg drag rather than that bump, and they realize that some of the more stiff bumps are the ones when you're doing the move to somebody, not necessarily taking the move from somebody.
Superplex is another great example. Doing a superplex,
and that's when the stunner. We just missed the first stunner. That's when the stunner was
the other way.
No, it was building. It wasn't his absolute repertoire, but it was getting there.
Yeah.
I mean, because he didn't do he did a kick, but it was a very low kick. It wasn't as defined as when he would set up for the stunner. Like he'd do a defiant kick and then a nice, jerk stunner. That wasn't that at all. That was more of a desperation move. So to speak.
Let me tell you what's great about this too is like something that you don't see a lot of guys do anymore. Is like Steve is feeding him the leg. Yeah, the corner figure four. Yeah.
Figure four on the post.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna tell you, nothing's really happening there, but it just looks bad.
It looks bad. Yes.
It looks, and he's selling the shit out of it. I mean, believe it or not, I took that just to see what it would feel like once.
It's nothing.
The only thing that you feel is the weight of your opponent. You feel the weight of your opponent on your legs. But as far as like, dude, the regular figure four is 100 times worse than that.
Oh, but yeah, if you do it right, 100%.
You got to cinch it. So that's the problem with a lot of these guys who, don't cinch the submission moves properly. And like for example, The Rock taking an attempt at the sharpshooter, the fucking ugliest, worst sharpshooter I've ever seen is when The Rock fucking does it. Absolutely just dreadful. I look at that.
Like a chair.
He was going after the commemorative chair.
Yeah.
But you can't use that. You can't use that because it's all padded.
He's like, I don't want that one.
And back then, when you were a wrestling fan and younger, when something like this was about to happen, you took this shit seriously right here.
This was all. I always I remember like watching this as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever someone had their leg or arm or something tangled up in the chair, then someone jumps down on it. I thought for sure it was gonna.
He wouldn't give him. He wouldn't. Not, that was a good shot, but it's not as good as the second. And you can hear King. It's WrestleMania, baby! And here it comes.
It's actually not bad.
Here we go, and when they arch the back, that's when you know that shit is getting real. That's when you know shit is getting real. What a beautiful chair shot that was. That was absolutely gorgeous. And when Steve Austin turns it on, oh my God. But there was another thing that Bret was really known for. Bret was really known about being thrown into the ropes, either sternum first or back first with like a shit momentum.
He was good at taking that, yeah.
No, I didn't know anybody who did hard sternum bump.
Nobody takes those anymore. They don't do them anymore.
No, he did it, and he did it well. Now, was this a forearm or a double axe handle? It looks more like a forearm, kind of, but the way that his arms were it looked like a double axe handle. Macho Man was the guy who did the great double axe handles.
Yes.
He was really known for that.
And
Yep, lower gut. He totally could have dropped the knee for the low blow. Oh, look at that. I love seeing that. That's the best way to sell that, is to be showing a very scared small child who shouldn't be there in the first place. Oh, and look at this, taking one out of his own book. Russian leg sweep into something we didn't normally see him do. But then again, he also knew when he was booked for this match. I remember he was saying that he was talking to Vince saying, what the hell, man? He's like, he didn't even know that he was going to that the stipulation was going to be a submission match. And he's like, I'm not normally known for being submissions, especially against someone like Bret. But then again, he kind of did a little bit of submission work when he was the ringmaster. I mean, there's Stu.
Well, that's when I think that's when they figured out that if I remember right. Because I guess they started fleshing out the match. And I was like, well, wait a minute. I don't necessarily have to out wrestle you to get you to say I quit. I could strangle you with a rope, and you could say I quit. And that way it kind of takes off some of that pressure, from Stone Cold to have to. Because you don't want to out technical wrestle the Hitman because that's his fucking gimmick. So you're not going to do that. Otherwise, it really wouldn't make sense for Stone Cold to come out there and out wrestle. They're the heel never out wrestles the face. Now, granted,
even though that wasn't the case
it
that it
switched,
was, but it switched. Exactly. It did. But you're absolutely right. And honestly, if you're not known for being a technical guy and you're trying to out technique someone, oof, I wouldn't be surprised if you got stiff for real and brought back reality and say, do your shit.
Yeah.
Do your shit. You know, that's not gonna fucking play. Mm-mm.
That's why, like, when you see, unless like it's your gimmick, say like Bret, Kurt Angle, Benoit, like those guys, like that's their gimmick, is to be that technical style wrestler.
100%.
You won't see a heel out wrestle the face 9 times out of 10 unless it's their gimmick.
Unless it's a technical gimmick. Exactly right.
Right.
Exactly right. And this one, Steve was known for being the brawler. Steve was known for being the brawler, and Bret, of course, the rugged technician from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, the match was going great. I mean, everybody was eating out of the palm of their hands. You know, everything was going well. You know, Steve even threw in a few desperation moves, and I do believe this is where he busts open Hardway, because he was in the way, and then boom, right there, you just saw his head completely ricochet off of the guardrail. So he didn't have to blade.
Well, he couldn't gig right. I mean, I guess you could if you're that good, but it's kind of hard to get.
No, he said he didn't. No, he said he didn't. He said he didn't.
You know, one trick that a lot of the old timers used to do is they would take like a pair of shears and like cut off like a small corner of a razor blade.
It was never a full one. It was always a little corner.
If they taped their fingers, they'd
have it right there, and they just go, yep.
And then it was small enough they could either give it to the ref to get rid of, or they could just throw it under the ring real quick or something, you know.
Yep. See. Yep.
Or hide it in the wrist tape. With Steve's case, Steve had the wrist tape, which a lot of guys back then did. All they had to do was just
with that, though.
They could just lift up a little strip and then boom, blade.
Yeah, Flair was all about the fingers.
Right. Flair did the fingers.
Flair did the fingers. Yeah. Flair did the fingers on that. And, you know, this was also WrestleMania 13. We weren't used to excessive blood on a regular basis as of yet. So this was getting really personal. It was getting really brutal. And that's what, you know, it really set up for. And, you know, there was another good match in Survivor Series. Obviously, it didn't even come close to this one. You can't have these kind of matches all the time. You'd be dead. I mean, you can see he's just bleeding all over the place. The thing about it is, a lot of people think that, you know, this was one of the more gratuitously bloody matches. I disagree. I actually disagree. I've seen 10 times worse than this. I've seen 15 times worse than that. I mean, it was something, but you also have to understand the tricks that these guys do. You have to understand that, you know, a lot of these guys do.
Watch a New Jack match. Watch New Jack and
oh God,
what's that guy's name? That kid that he wrestled.
That green kid that he sliced up, huh?
Yeah. That was bad.
That was bad. I mean, as far as the WWE goes, as far as the bloodiest match to my recent memory, we talked about this a little while ago, and it's definitely going to be Eddie Guerrero and JBL. I've never seen anybody bleed that fast and that much and continue on the way that Eddie Guerrero did. The entire mat, they were both covered with each other's blood. I mean, it was absolutely the only one that I can think of as a close second to that would be the I Quit match between Cena and JBL. You know, and what was weird about JBL is that he was the kind of guy who, by the time that he adopted the JBL character, he looked more like a football player rather than a wrestler. He had put on a few pounds. You know, he got up to about 295, and he looked actually more like a football player, which of course he was. You know, he was a football player at one point. So, but now getting back to this, I mean, you know, it's getting to the point where, you know, there's a good dig down right here. And a lot of people know that Steve is the kind of guy right now, you know, he's built himself up as a guy who can dish it out and take it with the best of them. But you're in there with fucking Bret Hart, man. And if Bret Hart likes you, he'll keep it clean. But if not, gotta love a good low blow, especially when the big mouth opens. Oh,
You know what else is real good about this too, and this is the old school formula of the way you split up a match. So whoever was going over got 1/3 of the offense. If you were going over, loser gets 2/3 of the offense.
Of course.
I would be willing to bet if someone actually did the math on the offense, it's damn close. Because right now we're about almost 24 minutes.
Oh,
well, I guess minus there's that front
the sternum bump.
I get if you got it down to the minutes, I would probably say it's almost perfect 2/3 to 1/3.
Nobody did a better corner stomp than Steve Austin.
Oh yeah.
Nobody did a more believable corner stomp than freaking Steve Austin, man. That was that was just so. There are two things that I love that Steve Austin did that were, in my opinion, kind of set him apart. Number one, the stomp, the corner stomp. Number two, he did one of the best Lou Thesz presses I've ever seen. When he would, when he'd come in, that was a decent superplex. I like a good superplex, but I love it from the top and not the second rope. But it's hard to do because the problem with it is not everybody carries over, high enough to do a pretty superplex. Guys, for the wrestling fans who want to see probably one of the coolest superplexes that wasn't a cage match or anything else to where it came off the top of something, definitely check out WrestleMania 18, Undertaker versus Ric Flair. Greatest superplex.
Oh, yeah. That was a good superplex.
Greatest superplex I've ever seen. I've never seen a superplex extend like that and get that hang time the way it did. I was just enthralled. Damnedest superplex I've ever seen. And that's a good bump. Well, obviously the damnedest superplex, if we're going to go with that, would definitely be Big Show and Brock when the ring fell apart.
Collapsed, yeah.
Boy, were we not expecting that. That was another good moment.
Well, especially at that time, I think that was the first time that anything like that.
No. Big Show had never been superplexed off the top rope. Not even in WCW. Not even WCW. He hadn't taken that bump yet. No, that was a first. But with someone like Brock, he could carry you over. So no problem there. We're getting down to the nitty gritty on the match itself. Steve decides to go ahead and use the power cord, and that could count as a submission.
Good old Earl on the outside there.
Yeah. The guy Earl can go ahead and say, "Why are you doing this?" But he can't tell you to stop. And and that bell came into play. Rung his bell. No pun intended. And he did get him with the wood side, but it's still a bell. What I remember, Bobby Heenan said one time, that saying, "What the hell? Use the bell." Good stuff. And then, I love it when they wheel over like that with the arm into the sharpshooter. And he had it nice and cinched too. You can see, look at that. You can see him sitting back.
Oh yeah.
You can see him sitting back into that sucker. Yep, here comes one of the iconic. Here it comes with the blood rushing down. It's not the iconic pose during that. He's saying no. The commentators are going crazy. And, of course, Ken Shamrock. Ken Shamrock did a really good job in this match.
And I say this every time, and actually I got the chance to talk to Ken, and I talked to him about this match a little bit. And
he was so young.
I think, don't get me wrong, the match is, even if you take Ken out of the equation, the match is great no matter what.
It is. But here's the shot. There it is.
There it is.
That's the one. And when King was going crazy, he was going, "Impossible! We're saying the impossible! Nobody's ever broken this. Oh my God, he broke it. Or did he? No.
Yeah, he's still got it. He's still got it.
Yeah. Yeah, and they were going nuts, and he's still trying.
Well, I was just saying that like Ken just brought that extra legitimacy. You know, he just brought that extra, just something to the match.
In the world of that kind of fighting, he seemed like a good person for that. And here he goes, Steve, do you give up? If you do not answer, I will stop the fight. And that's all she wrote. He passed out from the pain, and he is lying there in a pool of his own blood. And he is the first to admit that that was one of the sweetest moments of his entire life. He said it was the greatest way to ever lose a match because they went out. Nobody was a loser in that match. Nobody lost that match. That was absolutely enthralling. You know, it really was. And, you know, you could see the contempt in Bret. You figure it's all over and Bret's going to do what Bret normally does. He'll hit the corners, he'll work the crowd, and then he'll leave. You know, see, hitting the corners, doing the I love you signs like he always does. Steve's in there in the pool of his own blood, literally. I mean, that's not a metaphor. I mean, that actually was a pool of his own DNA. And like I said, you figure once he's done with that, and everybody's still putting him over, you know, and the Hart family is there on top of that. You know, you saw Stu, and then you see this, and you're like, wait a minute. This is not like Bret. Bret normally doesn't go after it. He doesn't normally go after it again. And he was getting ready to slap that on again, and then this, look at, whoa!
The crowd went nuts.
Bret is no paperweight. 235 pounds. He lifted him like he wasn't even there. And, of course, Bret is not. I mean, Bret just had almost a 30-minute match and a hard one on top of that.
Well, so still, it's Ken Shamrock. You're not.
Yeah, and he's like,
you're not touching that.
He's like, no, not right now. And then the chorus of boos start coming out, which, you know, I mean, his character is not used to because we're seeing a side of Bret that we haven't seen too much. And look at this. He starts slapping hands. He'll flick off a few people. He's about to flick off this guy. Flicks him right back off.
Well, you know, if you think about it, too, you think about the entire arc of the past year for him, right, was he lost to Shawn Michaels at 12, right? He lost the belt. That was – the belt was – obviously it's important to everybody, but someone like Bret Hart, that was his baby, right, to that character. He lost it. It changed his world. He was gone for, you know, April, May. He didn't come back until Survivor Series, right? And that's when Stone Cold had been calling him out for a month or two. Yep. And there was all that started developing all that bad blood, saying all that stuff, and it just
escalated from there.
It just escalated, and you figure like at this point with Bret, it's almost like
look at this, more people flicking him off, all that stuff and everything. This is so unlike that you would see Bret Hart fans do.
Yeah, he's had it.
Yeah. But then again, he had kind of been whining and complaining lately, which is something that people didn't kind of know him for. And he didn't like the way he was being treated. It was bullshit. And even this part, I mean, even this part right here, you know, God bless the referee for taking that, because that just sold.
Is that Chioda? Who is that? Is that Mike Chioda?
That was Chioda. Yes. That was Mike. That was Chioda. Yeah, that was Chioda in there trying to help him up. And, you know, Steve didn't want to be helped. I mean, the character that he wanted to walk out of there and have his pride and his dignity.
It should have been anyway. That's the way it.
And as you saw, people were booing him when they came in, and now 20,000 plus at WrestleMania 13. I believe this was in Chicago.
It was.
I believe this was the Allstate.
The Rosemont Horizon.
Rosemont Horizon. You're right. The Rosemont Horizon in Chicago. And 20,000 plus were cheering him as he was walking out, because how could you not applaud that effort? How could you not applaud the psychology that you just saw, the effort that you just saw? You didn't see someone pass out from the pain when it came to a submission match at that point. Nobody really did that.
Nope.
Nobody really did that. So that really put the character over. And lo and behold, the anti-hero was just, it was kind of born there, right? Well, kind of, sort of. I think the anti-hero was definitely born at the King of the Ring, 1996.
Well, yeah, I'd say if you really had to put the moments on King of the Ring, and then those are the two moments that really made Stone Cold what he ended up becoming.
100%, 100. No, that's a good one, guys. We don't. It's cool that we got the opportunity to bring that to you and start talking about what's important to us. I mean, I've been a pro wrestling fan since I was 6 years old, and I remember my first pay-per-view was Starrcade, the first one. It was Starrcade '83.
Wow.
So that was the first pay-per-view that I ever saw, and I fell in love with it, and I just was a fan ever since. And I, remember wrestling through the wrestling through the '80s, '90s, which are my favorite time. I'm going to be honest with you, but I did enjoy 2000 up until about 2000, from 2000 to about 2010. And then I think about 2010, it started losing touch. There were some great matches that were in the teens, well, actually right before the teens. I'd probably say, if you wanted me to go ahead and call after 2010, what is my favorite match? It'd probably have to be Cena and CM Punk at Money in the Bank in 2011. When Punk, his contract was about ready to expire, which was actually true. That was actually true, that it was about to expire, and they hadn't re-signed him. They didn't re-sign him until like midnight or 1 a.m. the next day.
Right, the next day, yeah.
Yeah. So that was actually true.
Oh, I guess let me tell you where this falls. Okay, my top matches now. This is
okay.
Hard.
Yeah. Okay.
This is hard for me because there's so many, as you know, there's so many great matches. It's hard to narrow stuff down. So the only way I can come up with it, and I guess live with myself, is I kind of categorize. I have different categories. So I've got like best stories, best storyline in a match, best actually, like, from like an athletic standpoint, best match. So talking about, say, like a Flair Steamboat, like, to me that would kind of fall under that category. Like, as far as like athletically, work rate, the work rate of the match itself, something like that. This I would put. Hell, I would probably put in no order. I don't really have an order, but this would go in my top 5 of best storyline told in a match. Not that it wasn't a great work rate match, because it was. You could easily still put that in a top 5 of that as well, because it was that good. But I think in terms of storyline, because what it successfully did, as you were just talking about, Austin came in the anti-hero heel, whatever you want to call it.
No, he wasn't the anti-hero yet. Not yet.
Not yet. I mean, he was. There was a couple people, but yeah, I for the most part, he was still the heel. Bret came in as the face. Everybody loves Bret the Hitman Hart, and they flip-flopped, and that was how they say that. That was how. What the hell am I trying to say, Jim?
I lost you about 2 minutes ago. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I understand where you're going, okay. But yeah.
Hold on. Let me flip that. Okay. Jesus Christ, Josh. Okay. Okay. So as you were talking about, Jeff, where you talked about Austin came in the heel, Bret came in the face, and then they flip flopped. By the end of the match, by the time Austin was, holding on to the ring, leaving the ring, like walking around the outside, having to hold onto the ring and limping, and blood just dripping down his face, people were starting to cheer him. Nothing like that. I haven't seen anything like that, to where you took both characters and flipped both characters in the same match since then, or really, I mean, up until that point, like, what they did might sound cliche, but it was, it was magic. It was magic. It was.
Hey, I'm coming through kind of weird on that end. I'm hearing a lot of echo.
Are you?
Yeah.
You still hear it?
Yeah, I'm still there, but I'm still hearing. Yeah, I'm hearing echo on your side.
I don't hear on my end.
Huh.
No.
Let me see. I'll work with it. It's all right because I'm hearing myself come through really loud, and I'm also hearing a an echo.
It sounds completely normal on my end.
Let me see. Let me do a little tweaking real quick. Nope, I'm still hearing that echo.
Really?
Yeah, that's weird, but I'll work through it. I don't care. You know, you can edit that. That's no big deal.
Yeah, I'll edit that.
Yeah. But no, yeah, we're gonna have to do something about this, man. I'm echoing real bad. Hold on one second.
Oh, just do your thing. Why don't you? There you go.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm still coming through on that end, and I'm getting a major echo.
Really?
Yep. I shouldn't be. Oh, try eliminating the screen and bringing us back.
What do you like?
To side by side. Let's see if that does anything. Yep, there it is. That fixed it.
Huh.
That's what I thought it was. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what it was.
Huh.
Yeah, it was that. Yeah, it was kind of, I don't know what it was. But yeah, man, getting back to what I was saying, you don't normally see that dynamic where you have, a complete and total character switch within the span of 30 minutes. Within the span of, you don't even see that kind of character transition in a couple of weeks as there's character development, let alone 30 minutes on a match. So that what was so impressive about it, because you normally don't see that. The last time that I saw something like that I was very surprised at was Survivor Series 1996 in Madison Square Garden, Sid against Shawn Michaels. Now, Shawn Michaels was huge at that time because, he was already, about 7 months into his title reign.
Yep.
7 months into his title reign. And Madison Square Garden was all about fucking Sid.
Yep.
They were all about fucking Sid. And I remember when Sid got the power bomb and got the win over him there. And I just remember Madison Square Garden going nuts. And in a very, very amazing way. And it was also, maybe it's just me, Howard Finkel that night was really on point. He was always on point, but there are some nights that he was just better than others. And he was just on point when he announced, and you got to figure, picking up a title win at Madison Square Garden.
It's huge.
Dude, you'll never forget that. You can't, that's a tough one to top. And then on top of that, when you hear Howard at his best, the winner of this bout and new World Wrestling Federation champion. Seriously, he was on point that night. Trust me. I'm a ring announcer. I hear these things. I know when a fellow ring announcer is absolutely on his point, and he was that night. And that was kind of something similar to me because I figured it was going to be basically not bipartisan at all. I thought it was going to be Shawn Michaels' country up there. Nope, not at all, dude. It was all about Sid, and that's also when Sid was on the roids. He was looking. He was looking amazing. But he wasn't a good wrestler, unfortunately. He was very limited. He was very limited at what he did. Basically, he had great facial expressions. Yes. He had great facial expressions. He had one of the most dominating, menacing physiques of someone his size. And I think that
was that Psycho Sid gimmick, right? Was that when he was doing the Psycho Sid?
Yeah, that was the Psycho. That was the Psycho.
Music was amazing. I loved his music.
Oh yeah, the Psycho. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah. That was great, man. That definitely made the character. And and at one point, he was Sid Justice when he first started up, and he was first brought in to be a referee for the match made in hell, SummerSlam. What was that? SummerSlam 19. Was that SummerSlam 91? Yes. Yeah. It was SummerSlam 91, and he was brought in, and the entire time when you were watching the Superstars, when you were watching Prime Time, Saturday Night Main Event at the time, they would always throw out there, which way is Sid going to go? Is he going to be more partial towards the Triangle of Terror with Sergeant Slaughter, or is he going to be more partial over to the Hulk Hogan and was it Hogan and Savage or Hogan and Warrior?
Hogan
It was Hogan. I think
Hogan and Warrior.
Yeah, it was Hogan and Warrior. Yeah, it was Hogan and Warrior because they weren't sure about which way that he was going to go on that, and he ended up, being completely right down the middle, which is what he said that he did. But when he kept his promos simple, he was great. When he started really getting lost in them, like the infamous clusterfuck of that WCW promo that he did where Kevin
I
Nash
may be half the man you are.
No, he said, you are half the, no, this is what he said. He said, you are half the man that I am, and I have half the brain that you have. And what was freaky about that? That was the one where Kevin Nash was wearing that.
Was dressed up as Sid, right?
And he had that really weird Sid Vicious mask. I don't know where that mask came from, but you could even see his facial expressions on that, and you could see that creepy Sid Vicious mask laughing right back at them. I was like, oh my God, this is gold. This is gold. And that's the thing. When he would get too wrapped up with it and go away from what he knew, then he was tripping over his words. And dude, that is live television in front of millions and millions of people. The last thing I'm going to do is put anybody under the bus. That is pressure.
It's tough. Yeah.
That is fucking pressure, especially for an athlete, because you have so much to concern yourself about with the match itself, right, that you also have to have your talking game just on the same fucking point.
Right.
That's a lot of pressure. And I think some of them, the good ones are the ones who can improvise and turn an improvisational moment. Jesus Christ, man, what the fuck's wrong with me? I'm a ring announcer. I shouldn't flub words, not unless I'm stoned or high, either one. But stoned, I mean drunk or high. You stoned or high is the same fucking thing. God damn it! See, this is what happens when you're in quarantine. You got way too much time to think. Way too much time to think.
Oh my God, guys! If you enjoyed this, because I did, because I haven't seen that match in a while, Stone Cold versus Bret. I really had a good time. If you enjoy us watching the matches and kind of talking about it and just shooting the shit about it, leave a message in the comments, man. If maybe throw a match out there. Is there something maybe you want to see? Is it something you don't want to see again? Fair enough, whatever. Just let us know down in the comments. Give us a thumbs up. Give us the thumbs down. Whatever you want to do, just give us some type of feedback. It really helps.
And not just wrestling. If you want to see wrestling. If you want to see boxing, if you want to see MMA, bare knuckle, lathe way, jiu-jitsu. I mean, I do my best when it comes to grappling. But at the same, anything that you want to see. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to fall in the category of wrestling. It's just we're two marks right here. So I mean, it's easy for us to get wrapped up in it.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the great thing. That's the great thing about us. You got Mr. Live Worldwide. He's dipped his toes in everything. I'm a little privy to the pro wrestling world because of my background, and then just from what I do with combatinsiders.com. So we have that large area to cover. So
we have a wide array of a spectrum. We do, and we love going off topic. You guys know that. I mean, if you've tuned into the last 5 episodes of
Speaking of going off topic, let's talk about. I'm just kidding. Sorry.
You have derailed.
I never said I was a good comedian yet, but yeah, we do go off topic. I never said I was funny.
I never said that you were funny either.
Well, okay. All right. Well, guys, again, we really appreciate it. Show us some love. You know what to do. Thank you for tuning in to this episode.
Hold on. We're not quite done yet, Chief. I'm looking at that clock up there in the wall. I think that we've got a few more minutes before we blow our load.
All right.
So let's go ahead and I know that there's so much going on in the world right now that unfortunately it has cut off our lifeline of live events, and that is very disheartening. Everybody's having to do something that we normally haven't had to do before. and it's tough, so I just want to send, some love out there to all of the promoters. So the promoters out there, whether I've worked for you, whether I haven't worked for you, whether we've had our disagreements, whether we get along like, peanut butter and bacon. The point is that, it's a trying time, and I really hope that the promoters who are out there and, they want to bring quality events, especially the promoters that are known throughout the world that bring top-notch, worldwide, first-class events. Please, I'm telling you, please do not let this setback deter you and keep you from coming back stronger than ever once this crisis has been averted. Once we're all done with this, the combat sports world is going to need you more than ever. We're going to need, seriously, we're going to need you more than ever, because we've got some ground to make up, and we've never had to make up that ground, not like this before. So I can't wait until we're all said and done and, the world gets back to normal. And when that happens, they're going to need you. The fight fans, the fight fans haven't gone anywhere. They're just under house arrest. They're under quarantine. They're watching Fight TV. Fight TV's been real good about still turning out, stuff to the fans. In fact, I believe they're even given free weeks and everything like that. I believe that they're, working with people on that so that they can provide more content, so that those of you who haven't tuned into Fight TV or various other streaming services, now would be a good time to do that and kind of get yourself a fight IQ. So that way that when when this is all done, then you can catch yourself up, and you may even find yourself liking something that you're like, wow, this has been here all this time, and it took the coronavirus for me to actually fall in love with fighting.
100%, man.
Right?
Yeah, you're right on, because there's fights that I haven't seen that I've wanted to see, and it's going to give me time to chill out, maybe pop open a preferred cold beverage of mine, and
several. I'm not looking for a vowel. I'm looking for a plenty.
Oh, you're looking for plural quantity.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, no. There's a lot of fights, man. There's stuff that you can, if you're not a UFC, if you're not an MMA fan, let's just say you're listening to this episode, you're just a pro wrestling fan and you haven't crossed over into combat sports, right? Go check out a UFC fight. There's tons of free fights right on their YouTube channel. You don't even have to sign up to fight the Fight Pass or nothing. You don't have to do all that. Same thing with Bare Knuckle. I strongly encourage, go to their YouTube channel. There's tons of free fights on there.
Dave has been really good about posting content during this time for those who don't know too much about bare knuckle fighting. So there's a lot, and I honestly believe that he's providing more free content at this time than a lot of other promoters are. Yeah. So I'm very proud and pleased to say that I am a representative, the vocal representative in the squared circle of bare knuckle fighting champions. I mean, look at me. I'm not trying to hide it. Man. I got my BKFC swagger on at all times. Dave, if you catch this, man, we certainly hope that all is well with you and your family, you and Dave, Dave Jr., we just hope that you guys are trucking along. We know that this is not the only business that you have your feet wet in. We know that you have other business ventures that are probably, taking a hit under this. Guys, the only thing I can say is please persevere through this. Dave, you have worked too hard and too damn long for some little flu to send this into oblivion. We don't want to see that. We want to get past this, and we want to get right back on the horse with bare knuckle in the squared circle. We want to make those locations, make those fights happen that we were going to say to the fans. So like I said, please don't let this discourage you. Please don't let this even skip a beat, because once we're ready to get back, we're going to get back, and we're going to be better than ever, because people are going to be so happy to see us back because after this. So seriously, Dave, we love you, man. I mean, I love BKFC. I mean, you bust my chops and you bust my balls every chance that you get, but you know something, man, if I'm not getting crap on a daily basis, that's not a good day, is it?
That's right. And I'm going to steal your line, Jeff. I
Uh-oh.
can't wait. I cannot wait till it's time to knuckle up, my friend. I can't wait.
You know what? I'll let you have that, man, because I can't wait either. I can't wait either, man.
But yeah, guys, once again, we appreciate your time, and look for us again, hopefully next week, God willing, and we'll check you out then. That's Mr. Live Worldwide, Jeff Houston. I am Joshua Furs from CombatInsiders.com, and we're out.
Hasta lasagna. Don't get none on you.
The sky